Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. A reminder as well that you can watch TVJ Live by downloading the One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1 followed by the words Spot and Media. TVJ News has confirmed that incarcerated dancehall artist Adidja Palmer, otherwise called Vybz Kartel, has been admitted to hospital with a kidney infection. Mr. Palmer reportedly fell ill yesterday around noon and had pain in his back. He was treated by medical staff at the General Penitentiary. Vybz Kartel again complained of pains about 6 o'clock in the evening. He was transported to hospital this morning as there was no marked improvement in his condition. A source at the prison says the artist was feeling ill from Wednesday. Vybz Kartel was sentenced to 35 years in prison in 2014 for murder. Employees in the Civil Department of the Supreme Court this morning staged a sit-in in protest of comments made by Justice Minister Delroy Chuck. Mr. Chuck revealed that some divorce decrees that were stamped by the Registrar of the Supreme Court were signed by fictitious judges. He stated that the divorce section of the Supreme Court was corrupted. Mr. Chuck, armed with documents to prove his case, is now in a meeting with workers at the Supreme Court. And the president of the Jamaica Civil Service Association, O'Neill Grant, says he has been talking with court workers since last night. He says he is in solidarity with employees and supports their call for a public apology.
We are actually watching and supporting the staff there. The action was called and taken by them, and the union is supporting the action because it has not been the first time that a minister would have categorized public officers as corrupt in such a targeted way. We know generally there is a certain level of corruption in the public sector, but to target a specific group and say that they are corrupt, we are taking exception to that. We think that the government must root out corruption where it exists and stop just generally putting out these statements that public officers are corrupt.
The Supreme Court staff have been protested against comments made by the Justice Minister. TVJ News has been informed that the Justice Minister told the union representative for the court staff that he will not retract or apologize for his comments. There is growing concern in Dominica amidst claims that some people starving as they are yet to receive food and other emergency supplies. Dominica was devastated by Hurricane Maria last week. Some Dominicans have been posting videos on social media site Facebook about dire conditions in the country. Ronald Jackson, head of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, admits there are challenges in getting supplies to sections of Dominica.
As far as I know, coming out of those areas, so it would be difficult for us to determine whether people are starving from the point of view of information coming from these areas. But looking at the time frame between impact date to now and the challenges in getting there, we anticipate that certainly there's a need to tackle these areas.
Mr. Jackson says supplies are being airlifted to remote communities, but that is also posing a challenge.
Drop a certain number of supplies. Dropping water in nets is a very intricate exercise, and so therefore, whilst supplies are going in, we do anticipate that there are greater need. So I'm not going to say that persons aren't struggling with resupply situations, but I am not ready to indicate to you that people are dying of starvation. I'm not able to get communications out of those communities, so I can't say that is a fact.
And following a meeting on Friday, the Jamaican government says arrangements are being finalized to assist the people of Dominica. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie says different sectors are participating in the relief efforts.
The Prime Minister did indicate that the JDF 120 resource engineering crew is on standby. We have been working with a number of private sector entities to collect what is required. You must understand that it is difficult to get information out of the country, out of Dominica, and we've been working with SEDIMA. So, you know, it is not fair to say the government is responding, and the Prime Minister has indicated that, and the Office of Disaster Preparedness is coordinating with the Ministry of Labour and Foreign Affairs on the ground.
Meanwhile, Custos of Clarendon, William Shaguri, is urging residents to be more responsible and prepare for disasters. At a town hall meeting, he stressed that responsibility begins with the changes in behavior and attitudes towards things like garbage disposal.
Because if you look in some of the gullies, you wonder if people really and truly do this to their own country. They go to other people's country, they don't do it, but it's correct to just throw the garbage out the window. The plastic bottles, I mean the millions of plastic bottles that litter our country, that is a disaster in itself.
Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie says the government will be allocating more money to cut trees which threaten the safety of people in public spaces. Mr. Shaguri also urged the residents to do what they can in their personal spaces.
You have your coconut trees. Don't wait until the hurricane comes before you start to trim them. Prune the trees when you know the hurricane is coming. Because it's better you prune them and you have a tree after the hurricane than don't prune them. The coconut trees, leave the center in it, and it will come back. But if you don't do it, then you would have created your own problem. And remember, store water. Buy the plastic tanks, store water. Because water is critical to your survival. My fellow Clarendonians, I don't want to keep you long because I know you have far to go. You have far to go. No, Minister, you know, I am a very plain-speaking person, you know. Yeah, we know that. And I don't hold back. I'm not looking to vote. I tell the people the truth. I tell them the truth, right? And the truth is, right now, Clarendon is having a lot of problems with crime. And I don't want them to stay out too long. That is another disaster we're having. Right?
The Ministries of Local Government and Health have partnered to provide the Jamaica Fire Brigade with ambulances. This will help firefighters to better help persons who are injured in motor vehicle accidents and other mishaps. One of the ambulances was given to the Hanover Municipal Corporation on Friday. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie lamented the high number of traffic crashes, particularly in Western Jamaica, which has increased road fatalities. The Highgate police are investigating the death of a man whose body was found about 6:20 yesterday morning in St. Mary. The dead man has been identified as 43-year-old Everald Richards, a taxi operator in the community. His body was found with multiple chop wounds and his hand was severed. His white Toyota Probox motor car was also stolen. There are calls for more young people to participate in Neighbourhood Watch programs across the island. Deputy Superintendent of Police Hector Cummins made that announcement at a Neighbourhood Watch function in St. Catherine on Sunday. He says crime has reduced in different communities since the Neighbourhood Watch program began. But he believes young people need to become more active in the program to make it more effective. He says in order to tackle crime, various groups need to unite at the community level. Education Minister Ruel Reid says the ministry is revising procedures governing infrastructure improvement at schools. Schools will be responsible for executing projects valued at up to $3 million with funds provided by the ministry. He also indicated that a service level agreement will be put in place to facilitate the arrangement. The Education Minister said regional offices will assist with the procurement process and management of projects valued more than $3 million and up to $10 million. He also noted that the offices will undertake the procurement for projects valued between $10 million and $20 million. Those above $20 million will be spearheaded by the ministry's head office. The Education Minister said the revision is aimed at decentralizing project implementation in order to drive greater efficiency in the education system. And in news overseas, the North Korean Foreign Affairs Minister has accused U.S. President Donald Trump of declaring war on his country. In light of this, the foreign minister said North Korea would take countermeasures, including the right to shoot down U.S. bombers flying over the Korean peninsula, even if they did not enter the Korean airspace. And we do apologize for that, the absence of that insert. And to news further afield, the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has called an early election to take advantage of higher opinion polls to secure a stronger mandate as the country prepares to respond to increasing threats from North Korea. And now we go to the CNN for details.
Shinzo Abe, the Japanese Prime Minister, is being described as being furious about what the North Koreans did, launching that missile over Japan's sovereign soil into the North Pacific. Now, Mr. Abe is also saying that they're going to be working with the international community to increase the pressure on North Korea. And at this stage, that would look like a more economic pressure. Obviously, China will be a big part of that, but certainly economic pressure is about the only thing that Japan can bring to bear on this. As you say, he did have a meeting with Donald Trump. It's a 40-minute telephone conversation in which he said that Donald Trump said that the US was 100% behind Japan and would also do everything it could in the assistance of the defence of Japan. But Shinzo Abe, you said unprecedented. Listen to what he said, because it was a very, very strong statement from Shinzo Abe.
The greatest and gravest threat to our nation ever. It also is an egregious threat to the peace and stability of the Asia-Pacific region.
And in sports, last season's league toppers Humber Lion and Reno recorded victories on the opening day of the Red Stripe Premier League.
21 delay to the start of the league. Players, coaches and fans were eagerly anticipating a frenetic start to the league. Humber Lion, who faltered at the semi-final stage last season, are under the guidance of the teacher Lenny Hyde and were swift out of the blocks against Boys Town as Kevon Isaac scored his first goal of the season in the 9th minute. The Red Brigade must have felt it was deja vu all over again, but the industrious Jamil Hardware quelled those fears with an equalizer 7 minutes after. The game petered out until the teacher's newest student, Romaria Rumrum Campbell, found the winner 4 minutes from time after being left unmarked as the second coming of Lenworth Hyde ended in a thrill and sent the Effortville team to the top of the standings.
I'm very pleased, as I said before, we want to start on a good note, and I think we did that today. I think the boys, I must congratulate the Boys Town team. They played well, they come at us. The character was there, we were disciplined on the field. Even though we made a mistake and gave up the goals, we kept our cool and we kept passing the ball. And we wore down the Boys Town team. Hence, I think that's why we won the game.
Disappointed, are you? Yeah, I'm disappointed, especially the way we lost it in the last 5 minutes of the game, to give up a goal to a set play, in different marking in the defensive third there. We should have really kept them at bay, and it was unfortunate to give up that goal so late in the game.
Over at Frome, Craig Foster was the difference between Reno and Tivoli Gardens as the Westerners prevailed 1-0. And over at the Huey Bowl, in a lethargic first half display with the host and Waterhouse, the tertiary-based team missed a chance to take the lead after missing a penalty close to the half-time break. And they were made to pay as new signee Dasher Satchwell registered his first goal with a well-taken free kick on the hour mark. Davian Garrison made sure the Marcel Gale team had a share of the points, equalizing 6 minutes later.
I mean, your first game, there's a lot of jitter, there's a lot of nerves. We have a lot of young players, 16 new players on a whole. So, first game, you're going to have that. And to come away with a point, we are happy.
We haven't lost a lot of games at home, so that pressure would have been on the players to ensure that we don't start the season with a home loss. But the response was immediate, and that allowed us to settle in the game again.
Reporting for TVJ Sports, I'm Keon Reyna.
And that's the midday news. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Do remember to join us at 7 for primetime news. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.